What's up everybody, I'm HoopsandHipHop. So if you're watching this video the day it comes out, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee comes out literally tomorrow, and I am so stinking excited, I almost can't stand it. With that being said though, ever since these games were first announced, Pikachu and Eevee have been in the spotlight a ton, basically for half of the year, and so we've gotten very comfortable with seeing them all over the internet. However, even with all of the spotlight these two Pokemon have received recently, I'm willing to bet that there are some things that you still don't know about them that are very interesting, mind you, and that is exactly what we're going to be talking about in this video. But before we get into that, I just need to give a really quick shout out and thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Pokemon Let's Go Amino. In Pokemon Let's Go Amino, you will find a very streamlined, Facebook-like experience where instead of having all of the nonsense that other social media apps have that you're not interested in, it will instead have completely 100% dedicated Pokemon Let's Go content, which is going to make it the place to find out tips and tricks about the game. It's going to be the place to find interesting facts, trivia, artwork, just anything you can imagine about these games. This is going to be the place to find it. So if you'd like to join in on the fun, you can click the link in the description or the pinned comment, or simply search your phone's app store for the Amino app, and then from there within the app, search for Pokemon Let's Go and you're all set. I am of course on there as well, so definitely give me a follow when you sign up, and I also ran a poll over on my page over there asking you guys what is your favorite new feature that's been introduced into the Let's Go game. So I really hope to see you over there, and once again, thank you to Pokemon Let's Go for sponsoring this video. So yeah, like I said earlier, even though these two Pokemon have been in the spotlight like non-stop since the reveal of these games, I'm still willing to bet that there are some very interesting things about them that you do not know. So in this video, that's what we're going to be covering. We're going to be taking a look at 10 facts about Pikachu and Eevee that you do not know to celebrate the release of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I am so excited for the video, I'm so excited for the games, so why don't we go ahead and just check it out. Okay, so first things first, we're going to be starting off the video with some Eevee facts, and the first one I've got for you here is rather interesting because even though Eevee isn't an official starter Pokemon, it is actually the Pokemon that is seen as a starter Pokemon the most times amongst games that actually have legitimate starter Pokemon, that being main series games as well as close spin-offs like Pokemon Colosseum and XD Gale of Darkness. Eevee was seen as a starter in Pokemon Yellow, which even though you weren't able to pick it, it was Blue's starter and it was available on the table just like Pikachu was. And then you've also got Eevee as a starter in Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, obviously, as well as Pokemon XD. This, of course, does include remakes, so for example, Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle have been seen as starters in 2 different games for their originals and their remakes, so the fact that Eevee has been seen as a starter the most times despite not being a starter Pokemon is really actually pretty cool. Okay, on this next one, if you're a purist, don't hate me because it's not technically a fact per se, but it is a bunch of very interesting pieces of circumstantial evidence that come together to provide a very interesting thought about Eevee itself. So as I mentioned in the previous fact about how Eevee is the starter Pokemon who has been seen the most times despite not being an official starter, there are several pieces of evidence to suggest that Eevee might have actually been considered for an official starter Pokemon at some point during the development of the first Pokemon games. This could be why we see it as an unofficial starter so often despite not being an actual starter, and the fact that Eevee can evolve into several different things would have been perfect to introduce the player to the concept of Pokemon evolution, especially in the Generation 1 games when Pokemon as a whole was first being introduced to the public. So, hypothetically speaking, if Eevee had gotten its own game like Pikachu did in Generation 1, it probably would have been called Pokemon Brown since they were going with the color theme back then. And as a matter of fact, the name Pokemon Brown is actually a name that has been trademarked by the Pokemon Company and the 3 companies that make it up, Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures. Now, does this have any credence towards the idea that Eevee was going to be a starter Pokemon? Maybe not. Like I said, it's just circumstantial evidence, but all of this coming together does paint a very interesting picture that's just, you know, something interesting to think about. Now, it's been well documented over the years that Eevee, as well as its evolutions, are kind of a weird sort of hybrid between a cat and a dog. You have the people that say they're more dog-like, you have the people that say they're more cat-like, and then you have the people that just kind of like to sit in the middle and say they're all foxes, I don't care. With that being said, it's possible that Eevee is at least partially based on the Gulan, which is a creature in Scandinavian folklore who is described as having a coat of brown fur, a cat-like head, ears, and claws, and a fox-like tail, which pretty much perfectly describes Eevee as well. However, what makes this interesting is that this is pretty much where the similarities stop between Eevee and the Gulan, because the Gulan is known as a notorious symbol of gluttony, basically eating itself until it can't move anymore, and then proceeding to find two trees that it can squeeze itself through to basically force digest all of the food it just ate through its stomach until it can actually move and then eat some more. So, I mean, the fact that Eevee could possibly be based on such a weird and just strange mythological creature is just pretty fascinating in my own opinion. Another very interesting thing about Eevee and Pikachu together is that they both have actually had cancelled evolutions in the past. With Eevee, it was actually going to be able to evolve into Leafeon in Generation 2 in Gold and Silver, as was shown in the Gold and Silver beta demo. And if you subscribe to my own personal theory, it's possible that Leafeon could have even been considered as early as Generation 1, because as we see in the Generation 1 games, the Leaf Stone is the only elemental evolutionary stone that is available in the Celadon department store that does not make Eevee evolve. And mind you, Celadon City is also where Eevee is obtained in the games, and it is also the area where we have a grass-type gym leader. So all of this coming together kind of makes me think that maybe they did consider a Leafeon evolution for Eevee as early as Generation 1, but we definitely know it was considered as early as Generation 2. And with Pikachu, you may or may not have heard this before earlier in the year, but I wanted to mention it anyway because it's still really cool. He was going to have a second evolution after Raichu in Generation 1 that was known as Gorochu, and Gorochu was said to have fangs and horns. The reason why Gorochu was ultimately cut and never made it into the Generation 1 games or any generation since is because apparently in the Gen 1 games it wasn't like looking bad or anything like that, but it just presented some balancing issues that forced it to be excluded from the games. Speaking of evolutions, despite the fact that in Generation 1 Eevee is synonymous with stone evolution, less than half of Eevee's evolutions evolve through the use of a stone, despite the fact that there is a stone available in the games right now that could perfectly evolve Eevee into any one of its evolutionary forms. Obviously, you have the Fire Stone, the Water Stone, and the Thunder Stone for Flareon, Vaporeon, and Jolteon, and then from there in Generation 2, we have Espeon and Umbreon who evolve by leveling them up with friendship in the day and in the night. But instead, you could very easily give them the Sunstone and the Moonstone given their morning and night theme. Moving on from there, we have Leafeon and Glaceon, which obviously you have the Leaf Stone that we already mentioned earlier, and for Glaceon, we have the newly introduced Ice Stone that was just brought into the games in Generation 7, literally perfect, and much better than that stupid level it up next to a giant rock mumbo jumbo. Like, what the heck even is that? Finally, we've got Sylveon, who you are supposed to level up with high happiness or friendship or whatever while it knows a fairy type move, when instead you could literally use the Shiny Stone or even the Dawn Stone. Both of those would work perfectly for Sylveon. Now, this is kind of weird given how synonymous, like I said, Eevee was with Stone Evolution, and hopefully given that we already have all of these stones in the games, they will edit and change Eevee's evolutions method for these other evolutions that don't evolve with stones to make it so they can evolve with stones, so we can kind of just have a nice streamlined experience instead of all of these wacky and crazy and kind of lame evolution methods. Now, you may know our main man, Ken Sugimori, as the designer of most of the Pokemon that we know and love today. However, he did not design the mascot of the Pokemon franchise, Pikachu, because Pikachu was actually designed by another longtime Game Freak artist, Atsuko Nishida. And even though we know Pikachu today as the mouse Pokemon, Atsuko Nishida has revealed that originally Pikachu was going to be something very different because originally it wasn't based on a mouse at all, but rather a daifuku, which is basically a Japanese pastry that is kind of hard to describe, so I do recommend looking it up, or I'll just show a picture on screen here, but it's kind of like a jelly-filled donut in a way, where it's a pastry that has sweet filling in the middle. And basically, Pikachu was going to be based on this and have its ears on it instead, and that is actually where Pikachu gets the black tips on its ears as a nod to this former design. In a fact that could definitely also be included in one of our odd facts videos as well, in Latin America, Cartoon Network, who is a network that has broadcast the Pokemon anime in the past, has this segment that they do that is known as Toon Biography, where they essentially give backstories to their various characters that appear in their shows, and they've actually done one of these segments on Ash's Pikachu. In this segment, it was stated that Pikachu is the result of an experiment conducted by Professor Oak, where essentially Professor Oak created Pikachu, and then Pikachu subsequently, in a momentary loss of control, also destroyed the lab where it was created. Now, I don't know where Latin America Cartoon Network are getting their information, but this sounds a little bit far-fetched if you ask me. Now, we previously mentioned Atsuko Nishida as the person who designed Pikachu. However, as it turns out, she has also designed most of the evolutions as well, designing Vaporeon, Espeon, Umbreon, Leafeon, Glaceon, and Sylveon. Now, traditionally in the Pokemon community, Pikachu's origin being based on a mouse is seen as pretty straightforward because it is the mouse Pokemon. Whereas with Eevee, it's a little more ambiguous, like I mentioned earlier, where it looks like it's a combination of a cat and a dog and a fox and probably a couple other things as well. However, this is ironic because the same could actually be said for Pikachu as well. In reality, Pikachu could be seen as being based on a mouse because it is the mouse Pokemon, a squirrel because Atsuko Nishida herself said that she partially was inspired by a squirrel when creating Pikachu. It could also be inspired by a Pika, which is another rodent that could have given Pikachu some inspiration for obvious reasons, and it could be seen as at least being partially based on a Daifuku because that was its original inspiration, as we mentioned earlier, and that concept did make it into its final design with the black ear tips. So in actuality, Pikachu is kind of a melting pot of just as many things as Eevee is as well, even though it's kind of seen as more straightforward as a mouse Pokemon. And last but not least, we have another fact specifically about Pikachu that is actually very, very interesting. Now, you might see Cosplay Pikachu, who was introduced in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, as simply a Pikachu that is dressed up in cosplay, and while you would be right, you might not actually know that Cosplay Pikachu actually has a physical difference with its body compared to a regular Pikachu, because Cosplay Pikachu, while having the female tail of a Pikachu, also has a black tipped tail, which is different to the regular female as well as the male. And this makes Cosplay Pikachu a legitimate different form to regular Pikachu because it actually has a physical difference with its body. And this makes Pikachu the only Pokemon that has both a gender difference and a separate form as well. And there we have it, everybody. Now, like I've said about a million times before, I am unbelievably excited to play Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee when it comes out tomorrow, so I thought it only made sense to kind of give the spotlight in a dedicated video to our two mascot Pokemon for these games, and I certainly hope you learned something about them that you didn't know before. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and let me know down in the comments below what you thought of these facts, and if you have another fact yourself about Pikachu, Eevee, or one of its evolutions that I may not have mentioned. If you're new to the channel, you're definitely going to want to subscribe not only for the Pokemon content I post every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, but also for all of the amazing Let's Go content that is going to be coming to the channel, including the Let's Play, because yes, I am going to be doing a Let's Play of Let's Go Pikachu starting tomorrow when the games come out, and we're going to kick off the series with 2 or 3 episodes to start to really give it a nice premiere, and I can't even talk. I'm going to keep that in the video just because it accurately describes how excited I am, but yeah, I am unbelievably excited for this Let's Play, and I really hope you guys turn out for it because I would really love to experience the game and my playthrough with as many of you as possible. With all that being said though, I will be back on Saturday for another regular video, and I will be here on Friday for the premiere of our Let's Go Let's Play, so go ahead and hit that notification bell so you can be notified when all of this amazing stuff goes live, and until then, as always, you know I love you guys, I hope you're excited too, and I will smell you guys later.